Welcome to the Whatif tutorials. In this tutorial we will be creating a made item which is made to order for resale. We'll be covering the creation of the item code and its short description. We'll be entering dimensions and other specifications, and we'll be entering standard make assumptions to determine the way that the item is to be produced. And we will be entering standard sell price and gross margin details. From the costing system menu, click item costs and then item master. This shows all of the items in the current item master file. Click create item. First of all, we need to select the item type, and in this case we want to select a made for sale to order. Enter the code of the item, enter a short description, select a category code. These are 2-digit alphanumeric codes, each of which has a 2-digit alphanumeric group code. These should be created before entering items in the item master. Click to the category required and select use. Next, enter the stock unit of measure. In this case we'll stay with each. When the item is created, it is active by default. It can be inactive, but of course it will be active at this point. If there's more than one factory, click to select a factory. An item can exist in more than one factory, but it must be created in each factory. Next, select whether the item has dimensions. In this case, we have said yes, we want dimensions. And next, select whether the item is to be configured. And since it is a made to order item, yes, then it is assumed it's going to be configured. Next, click OK. This takes us to the item specifications screen. In the first place, we have a long description. This is used by the quotes module to describe exactly the nature of the item being quoted. There is no restriction on the size of this description. Next, enter instructions. Now, instructions are for how to make the item, for example, or how to store the item, or for any information that is required for internal purposes only. It is not for publishing, not available otherwise. So we'll just put something there. Now each item has up to 3 user-defined classifications. In this example we have defined colour, style and size. You don't have to have all 3, you don't have to have any if you don't want to. Click on the green arrow to select a colour, use, click and select style, use, click and select size. Now of course you may need a size that's not already been created, so you can do this by clicking the add button. Finally, if you have a picture of the item, you can look for it, the picture file, browse for it. We won't bother with that now, but that picture file can then be used when creating quote attachments. Next, click the dimensions button. What you see here are all of the standard dimensions created in the product configurator. Each dimension is represented by a symbol. Up to 26 symbols are available, the alphabet that is. For each dimension, in this case D for drop, there is a unit of measure also entered in the product configurator, and it can be configured because this particular product is made to order, so therefore we have a tick. We have in here whether we want to show the dimension when we look at the item dimensions box down here. It can be used as an item but may not be necessary to show in the item dimensions. Finally, we have a maximum and a minimum value also specified in the configurator. So what we'll do now is select the item's dimensions that are applicable to this particular item. So we'll take drop, click specify and enter a value. Yeah. Oops, we've entered too big a value, I think. Yes, it's told us that the value we've entered is outside the limits. We can just continue if we want, and I will go back and change that. Click OK, and we'll do the same thing for width. Specify, put in a value within the limits, 1600. Okay. So we now have drop 1500 and width 1600. We'll now close. We are prompted whether we want to delete unspecified dimensions. So we're only interested in 2 dimensions, so we'll say yes. This brings us back to the specification screen where we can see we've got a drop of 1500 and a width of 1600. Now these dimensions here are the standard dimensions of this particular item, code TYO. Since it is an item that is made to order, then when you do quotes, these dimensions may change, and they are changed in the quotes module itself. But in the item master, they remain as what we've created them here. So that can be viewed, if you like, as the standard in the item master, but that can then be changed in the quotes module. Okay, so we're finished in here. Now, this particular screen is where we specify make assumptions. Each product has a bill of materials. For costing purposes, they're either derived from a batch of materials, as with food, chemicals and pharmaceuticals, or they're assembled upwards from component materials, as with engineering products, electronics, furniture, etc. We need to select the production method as either batch or assembly, so we'll make it assembly. If there's a drawing of the item applicable or some sort of reference to it, we can enter it here. Next, we have to enter the BOM make quantity. Now this is the quantity that will be made by the BOM details to be entered after this is created. Normally with a made item it'll be 1, so that we have a bill of materials which will make 1 assembled item. But it may not be. You might be making 10 items out of a bill of materials, so that the bill of materials costs will be divided by 1 to get the unit cost. Next we enter the standard make quantity. This is the make quantity that is usually made by, say, on a production order, and that quantity is used to absorb the setup costs. The labour setup costs that are involved in a particular order will be absorbed by the quantity entered here. So we might have 20. Got to get this right. 20. Okay. These BOM and OPS are dates which will be recorded when there are changes to the bill of materials of the labour operations. For now, we've finished with this screen. Because the item's sold, we now go to the sales price screen. The sell unit of measure needs to be entered if it's different from the stock unit of measure. In this case, it's each the same as the stock unit of measure, so that's fine. We now need to enter the sell price for this made item. Now this is a standard sell price for this particular item, and bearing in mind that we've put in the dimensions for that item, so it is the price for this particular version of the item, and it may vary for items which are configured in the quotes module. Enter in a discount that we are prepared to offer our customers. Now there is no standard cost in here as yet because we have not created the bill of materials or the labour operations for this product. This will come after this actual creation part is completed. Okay, so we've now created the item in the item master. you can see we've got the code, the description, the dimension, it's configured, it's made, it's sold in the chairs factory, ORD because it's made to order, the unit of measure, no standard cost as yet because we haven't entered a bill of materials or labour down here. That will come in a later tutorial. No supply because we're making it. It's active, it has dimensions, its category, its group, and its classifications. When we have created the costs of this item, they will appear here in the standard cost, and we can then view the make details here for this item. So the make details consist of material, labour and overhead to give a total standard cost for this particular item, and we have not as yet created the bill of materials or labour, so they're blank. And that concludes this tutorial